Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there in Heatland. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. And appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Hit that like button, comment, and we'll get on into it. Miami Heat licking their wounds a little bit. An off day. Be back on the practice court, I believe, tomorrow to get ready for Game 2 of this Eastern Conference quarterfinal series against the Cleveland Cavaliers as they lose Game 1. Got drubbed there in the fourth quarter. We all know the story now. And, it was interesting, hearing everybody in the aftermath of the game. And I really didn't disagree with a lot of what everybody had to say from the players and coaches' perspective of this thing. I think from my standpoint, the things that I'd like to see to give Miami a real chance at this thing for this next game, I think first and foremost, my attention goes right to the rookie Kel'el Ware. And it goes my attention there for a couple of reasons. One, I don't expect to win or lose a series because of a rookie. I think that's a lot of stuff to put on Kel'el Ware. Back when Tyler Herro was a rookie, I wouldn't expect to win or lose a series because Tyler Herro was or was not dropping big points in the bubble. Now, happened to be that he was having a pretty good rookie campaign in the postseason when he was in the bubble that he hasn't, quite had and that he's really been searching for since. And we'll get to Tyler here in just a second. But when Justice Winslow was a rookie, and I remember, Justice against the Sixers, showing a lot of attitude, showing a lot of spunk. I think everybody was pretty. Justice Winslow's approval rating after his Sixers series where he was stepping on masks. Everybody that wanted somebody to step up for Duncan Robinson back in the day, they loved when he stepped on Joel Embiid's mask in the Heat Sixers series, which I ended up losing a bet to an Australian member of parliament because we had a Goran Dragic, Ben Simmons bet. I ended up having to hop in front of the American Airlines Arena at the time in a kangaroo outfit with a Ben Simmons jersey, which, fun fact, I bought that jersey at a Lids, did the skit, and then never took the tags off, returned it the next day. So, got you on that one, Lids. Even though you guys have hiked the prices of hats by 120% since I was a child. But I think for me, the thing with Kel'el that I'm curious about, because one, there's no way that you have come away with the season being anything but wildly impressed with the young man. He is a force with blocking shots. He has really, really pretty offensive polish. He has a capability of hitting the three, but he is not necessarily a threat from three yet. We have seen flashes of that. He is an unbelievable alley-oop target. And the rebounding, I think that is the thing that you want to steady the most, just from a tenacious standpoint of getting boards, not letting it get knocked out of his hands. And I think all that stuff is going to come with time and is going to come with reps. But I think having an opportunity like this for Kel'el to really be thrown into the fire and see how he can bounce back. Because the thing that was noticeable yesterday, and it was said by Tyler and it was said by Bam, that they both were asked about this being Kel'el's first rodeo into the postseason, but they both said they need him. I mean, they were both very clear that they're going to need him and use the term need on him if they're going to have a shot in this series. And look, there are a lot of ifs that are going to come in here. I'm not going to sit here and bull bleep everybody and act like the Miami Heat don't need some things to lean their way for a series to get shifted. We've seen this with the Miami Heat and series where the odds and the stats and all of that stuff lines up against them. And what are the things that take those margins up? Why are players like Caleb Martin and Max Strus, Gabe Vincent able to level up in things like this to help Miami? And for the cutesies who are out there and saying, "Oh, it was just Jimmy Butler," it wasn't always just Jimmy Butler, though, guys. It wasn't. Jimmy and nobody has given Jimmy Butler more credit and said that he should have gotten paid than me. But there are other things that can line into a series to tilt some certain things in their favor. And to me, I just don't think the Miami Heat can small ball the Cleveland Cavaliers. I really don't. And I think that Kel'el has to be out there in the fold. And then the other part of it is, I think it's time to see what Nico can do. I think, all right, he's been about ready to go since the play-in games. Anybody who hit me with answers about, look at those shots that he had at the end of the game. Dude, get the holy hell out of here. Like, it's the end of the game. Let the man go out there and cook. I remember many moons ago where a season and a series that looked bleak after an ass kicking in game one was completely flipped by a man who was coming off of injury, who wasn't quite right, but brought just unbelievable effort and energy and swung the game. I was at CJ's Draft House in Deerfield Beach at a Dan Le Batard show watch party. Saw Dan Le Batard even fist bump when this happened. But Udonis Haslem completely swung the energy of Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals after the Miami Heat got the snot kicked out of them on the board. And UD came out there with a ferocity after being injured, after dealing with this foot thing, and he just completely swung the series on its head. And for me, this is a series where the Heat are going to have to get a little weird, and I think that opens up the range for Nikola Jović to go out there and make some things happen. I'm not saying start him, but would I be opposed to seeing? We've seen at times where Spo tinkered with the Bam, Jovic, Ware lineup. I think it's a time to get a little bit weird. I think that's what this series calls for. And I think that the Miami Heat have some interesting players. They've had some valiant efforts by some veterans. You know, Kyle Anderson has played valiantly. I know Spo loves him to death. Haywood Highsmith. I'm not by any means saying bench Haywood Highsmith. The guy feels like you always can count on him, especially if he has a shooting going on a certain night. His ability to get offensive rebounds, his ability to cut with a little bit of recklessness that, you know, some guys don't have the stones to make. But Alec Burks, I think I think like we can come back to that wave. If Duncan has it going, okay. But I do think there needs to be like this moment for Spo to pivot at certain points, to level up, to size up, to bring in more ball handling. I like the idea of having Davion Mitchell start and just start from the stretch run, because I think you want to make it as hard as possible for all those guys out there. And then if you need the backup point guard, allow Nico to get a little to wet his whistle a little bit with that. If and if you don't want to do that, I don't love Nico coming out of the starting lineup just because it hasn't been as successful as him coming off the bench, but even get a little weird with that. Get funky with this. I think the Miami Heat have to, if they're going to really give Cleveland something to think about in this series. And, I thought that Davion said it well, where, it was almost like an admission of like, hey, we know that the Miami Heat are going to come into this. We know that they're a talented team. Here was the quote from Davion. We got to be the hardest playing team. They're a really good and talented team. They can score the ball with the best of them, so we got to be the hardest playing team, and that's what we got to do. But if you think about the hardest moments of yesterday's game, a lot of them were probably from Donovan Mitchell. So, and all of those loose balls that were there, this is from Anthony Chang. He says the Cavaliers came in with 9 of the 13 loose balls in game 1. Slight edge on offensive rebounds. And I don't remember second chance points. I don't remember there being a huge edge on that. But like sometimes there wasn't even second chance points. Sometimes for them it was like third chance points. So Miami's got to have an ability to corral that. And that, I think, honestly, is one of the big places for Kel'el. Like, if a possession's over, you gotta get that rebound, and it's got to be over, dude. But I just can't. I can't see Miami shying away from him and having a lot of success. And then, of course, there's the big question about Tyler and his defense, and that's, he's getting piled on a little bit today because. There was numbers today that came out. Keith Smith from Sport Track came out with a number that said Tyler Herro. This was his the Cavs guard trio of Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Ty Jerome targeted Tyler Herro 36 total possessions. Cavaliers guard combined for 29 points on those 36 possessions. The Cavs as a team combined for a whopping 64 points on those 36 possessions. And yeah, Tyler's not good on defense. This is not rocket science to anybody. But here's the other thing too. This is not like a new thing in the NBA either. Like this is not just a pick on Tyler thing. Like this happened with Steph Curry yesterday in the Rockets game. This happens with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic got called out for his atrocious defense in the finals last year. And especially when you have a lineup sometimes out there of Bam Adebayo, Kel'el Ware, Haywood Highsmith, Davion Mitchell. Who do you think they're going to try and get the matchup on? Like, it's not just a matter of Tyler being a below average defender, but when you're out there with guys who are either above average or superior defenders, of course they're going to want to get away. Of course they're going to do everything they can to get Bam Adebayo out of the play. That's the game. That's the playoffs. I think from Tyler's standpoint, and I don't know if there was a little wear down from the week, I'll give some effort because there's going to be a lot of eyes on him, and I'm going to give a little bit of reprieve because I do think that he's shown a great ability to bounce back this year. I was questioning some of him after the All-Star break of dealing with the attention and the heavy lifting of a post-Jimmy Butler world. And yeah, there was some of that for sure, but I do think that he also found something in the last 2 weeks of the season that seemed like he came out on the other side of it. For him, I definitely think that there has to be an element where, this defensive thing, one, it is going to be what it is. There just can't be games where in the second half, he's getting gun shy or he's being taken out. Like, this is a Tyler Herro that's got to be fearless going to the rim. And I know that's a big ask against this team. This team did not have nearly enough attempts in the restricted area. And that goes for Bam too. Bam can get fadeaway happy. It gets and falls in love with his jump shot. Like those guys, it's got to be, if you're not going to challenge them, you're giving them exactly what they want. I'm under complete awareness that that's Jarrett Allen and that's Evan Mobley in there. I know, but if you are already giving them the reprieve of they're not going out there at all, like there's no challenge whatsoever. Although I do think Evan Mobley's numbers were not awesome yesterday just as a defender, but just having him there can be a deterrent as well. So those to me are all the big things that have to happen. And obviously you need a better game from Andrew Wiggins. There can't just be there can't be these whole quarters where you just forget that he's even there. And Andrew's like a bit of an interesting case because, his time with the Heat, we've seen some pretty big scoring booms and then it just kind of goes away. He's not necessarily a guy, in the time watching him that opens up a lot of other stuff for other guys. He's had some connections with like Ware on lobs, but like it's not a guy where he takes the attention and like, oh my God, everybody's all after him and it kicks to other teammates and everything's now open for somebody else. And also, quite frankly, he's done, and I don't know if this is an unfamiliarity or this is something that's really been with his career because I haven't watched Andrew Wiggins his whole career. I'm just saying in his time with the Heat, but man, been turning the ball over a little bit too much for my liking in his time in Miami. So if Miami's going to have a shot against Cleveland and all the ifs that they need, I agree with Davion Mitchell. They have to play way harder than Cleveland. They cannot lose the loose ball battle. I will chalk that up to, hey, bit of a grind. They were 2 weeks off. They were fresh. But there can't be another game where that happens. There cannot be another game where that happens if Miami's going to have a shot. You got to lean into your young bigs. You got to. If you're gonna be anything in this series, you got to lean into your young bigs. And yeah, you need Andrew Wiggins to give you more. You're going to need Tyler. Obviously, Tyler Herro's got to give you more. But that wasn't the typical Tyler Herro game. I think Tyler Herro's going to give you more. I'm not worried about that. But this is the interesting part of the test. This is where we get to find out. Because look, if Miami comes in there and they're able to take game 2, they're going to be in a good spot. They get to go back into their building, and then they get to that. Then that puts all the pressure on Cleveland. This last game, it was a bit of a house money game. This one definitely comes with some juice because the odds of coming back from an 0-2 series are never good in a series. But if you win it and you split and you're going back to your building, You'll be you get to put a little bit of the squeeze on them and see where they're at. And I do think that this is an interesting thing because it's not like taking on a Boston who's been there, done that. It's a Cavs team that's a 1 seed that has a lot of expectations. Donovan Mitchell's got a lot of expectations. A lot of these guys are all, you got a Ty Jerome 6 Man of the Year finalist, Evan Mobley a Depoy finalist, All NBA player in Donovan Mitchell, maybe an All NBA player in Darius Garland. All stars galore. They're loaded. Like Davion Mitchell, he didn't mince words or say anything incorrect. So, but you make it 1-1 and you get to go back to your building and Heat Nation's juiced up. And by the way, that's an early ass game, so your ass is better be in that seat early. All right, go get some mimosas, go party at Bayside, go get some waffles and get lit up, and safely, of course. And then get your ass in that building, get your seats right. All right, just FYI, just getting you going with it. All right, but for me, the biggest thing is I think Tyler Herro is going to bounce back. I'm pretty confident Andrew Wiggins is going to bounce back. It's the young guys that I'm excited to see. I want, and especially Ware. I want to see, and Bam. Look, Bam's got to keep it going too. Like that was Bam had a solid game, but he's got to keep it going as well. And certainly wasn't scared to shoot and likes this Magic League. He's got to keep bringing that as well. But there's definitely a lot of elements to improve for Miami. But this is no doubt a big one coming up on Wednesday for game 2.